be careful, because the next thing they'll tell you is there's no judicial activism. People know better, they see it. We saw it in Proposition 8 in California. We've seen it in Kelo versus New London. We've seen it, and the people are saying, no, we will separate the branches. And oddly enough, others are joining with us from that profession. Some are saying now that it was perhaps just a perfect storm. In one of those judicial symposiums that I participated in, Justice Strike, after he'd been removed, agreed with me. It might have been a perfect storm. It could have just been a combination. I see the Tea Party t-shirts out there. People were awakening. They were anti-establishment. They were angry with those who were trying to dictate what we might want to do for our families, for ourselves. And Iowans were unemployed. For no fault of their own, in many cases, Iowans were unemployed in record number. And to think that there were 7 black-robed justices who thought they were above the law, above the restrictions on the Constitution, that they would have lifelong employment as long as they deemed, really didn't set well with the Iowa people. Because the Iowa people knew that the judges are on the bench at the will of the people. They're not there by political whims or personal whims. They're there at the will of the people. That is what the retention vote is about. And again, to help everybody understand, impeachment, which if you study the Constitution and talk to the scholars, they say there are grounds for impeachment. That's the legislature's option. But retention is the people's option. That's your option. Every one of us has the obligation and the responsibility to know the judges and to vote on them for that retention vote. It was, in fact, implemented by the Iowa Bar Association helped implement this in 1962 when the process started, when we quit electing our judges. This is your only voice. If you don't vote on Justice Wiggins this year, you won't get to vote on him again until 2012, because the judges are not to be political in the courts. The republic democracy that we have, the people get the choice to vote. And so we have to know those. If we don't take that opportunity, we don't get to speak again until 220 on this judge. He's proven how brazen he is, and I don't think he'll get any better unless we hold him to it. Now, we've talked about that perfect storm, and I would tell you the sun is shining bright here. It's glorious and it feels good, but there is still a black cloud looming, driving up right now, as a matter of fact. And Justin Wiggins is on that cloud, and you'll see on the bus that they bring colors that we trust, symbols that we love, words that we've used forever. But I would caution you, and listen carefully. Anybody that's trying to take away your liberty and your right to vote, make you feel bad about expressing your views, is squelching your liberty. And that is a danger. And again, ask those folks in their suits and their ties, and they're a profession of attorneys, why? Why they're being so selfish to put their profession above our Constitution and our liberty? Or why are we at odds? Because truly, if they were wanting the best things we were wanting, we'd all understand the Constitution and be in support of it. But to have an organization that stands in opposition to the people's voice and the Constitution tells you something very clearly. So I'm going to make it very simple for you. Flip the ballot over and vote no Wiggins for your liberty. Flip the ballot over and vote no Wiggins for your integrity. Flip the ballot over and vote no Wiggins for your children, and to prove to the rest of the country that, yes, we still understand the issue, and it's not personal. Justice Wiggins is just number 4 in a line of 7 who committed a great grievance against the people of Iowa, the U.S. Constitution, and the state Constitution. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you very much, Samara. Our last speaker is Vander Plaats, Chairman of Iowans for Freedom.
Thank you, Greg. Well, it's good to be in Spencer, and as a former high school principal in the Lakes Conference at Sheldon, I think this is great. This is Civics 101, and we in this country should celebrate free speech, and we do that here. But I just want to talk about a couple things that would be brief. A lot of people say the Varnum opinion, and the reason we're trying to oust Wiggins like we did the other 3 judges, is because it's all about marriage. Well, marriage happened to be the issue. But let me discuss marriage just for a second. If you read the beginning of the Iowa Constitution, it will talk about God, a supreme being, who we recognize for all of the blessings on this great state. And then the founders recognized our dependence on him for a continuance of blessings. And the founders said that we would base all of our laws on the law of nature and the law of nature's God. Meaning, if there's any man-made law that's out of concert with God's law, it's no law at all. Well, ladies and gentlemen, no matter how you cut it, the law of nature and the law of nature's God regarding marriage is simply one man, one woman, period. Two is, being an educator, I take a look at these things and I think, you know what? How could they do this? Because they cannot legislate from the bench. They cannot execute from the bench. They cannot amend our Constitution from the bench. So how did this happen? This same case, this exact same case, came up in a U.S. District Court that was just ruled on August 8, 2012. In the ruling by that district judge, the U.S. District Judge, who referenced the Varnum opinion, by the way, said to strike DOMA and start issuing same-sex marriage licenses would be akin to judicial legislation. And he said courts can't legislate from the bench, so therefore he couldn't do it. He also said it would be impossible for a court to remove their bias from that opinion. And he said the only way for this opinion to be realized is through the representatives of the people or through a vote by the people, and that's what we want here in the state of Iowa. You see, because you read the Varnum opinion, this is what they did. They voided the Defense of Marriage Act. Article 12.1 gives them that ability to void legislation that they would deem unconstitutional. But the second sentence of Article 12.1 says the legislature will create all legislation to carry out this Constitution. But the Varnum opinion didn't stop with the void of the DOMA Act. What the Varnum opinion did is it went beyond. It said Iowa will be a same-sex marriage state. You cannot make Iowa a same-sex marriage state. That's the legislator's job, not the court's job. Then they said all 99 counties will follow suit. They can't execute squat. Only the governor gets to execute an opinion, and no governor, Culver or Branstad yet, have executed this opinion. Only the Attorney General, Tom Miller, has sent out a memorandum telling people to issue same-sex marriage licenses. Tom Miller is not in the executive branch. He's in the judicial branch. There is no reason why we're handing out same-sex marriages licenses today. The law on the book, in the Iowa Code book, go to your attorney's office, have them bill you to research it, but look it up. 595.1, 595.2, the Code of Iowa says marriage is reserved for one man and one woman. Why? Because an opinion doesn't change the law. You talk to the constitutional scholars, talk to a guy you know well around here by the name of Newt Gingrich. Very clear on this stuff. He said the founders always saw the courts as the weakest branch of government, totally dependent on the legislative branch for their funding, totally responsible to the executive branch to have their opinions executed. None of that has happened. But then they'll tell you it's only one opinion. Well, let me tell you about one opinion. Dred Scott was one opinion. Blacks are property. I'm sure the Iowa State Bar Association, they would be saying, Justice Taney, he should be retained. No, it was one opinion. He was wrong, and Lincoln issued an executive order of his day called the Emancipation Proclamation to let him know he overstepped his bounds. One opinion, Roe v. Wade, one opinion has now killed 60 million babies. One opinion, the Varnum opinion, has reshaped the structure of our families and the foundation of our culture. One opinion. That's why we hold these courts accountable. That's why Iowans will do what they did back in 2010 when they voted off 3 justices. Because they understand it's the legislator that makes the law. It's the governor that executes the law. And it is only we, the people, who get to amend our Constitution. Never should a court be allowed to amend our Constitution. And finally, I'm talking to the attorneys now. I find it simply unconscionable as an educator. Simply unconscionable that people would rise their professional institution above that of the Constitution.
Norma.
Their professional institution
Norma.
gave Justice Wiggins the lowest grade in modern history a 63%. The other 3 justices that we knocked off in 2010, they were in the mid-80s. Wiggins, 63%. I was trained to read a scoring instrument. I read the scoring instrument on Wiggins. What they said Wiggins is arrogant, he's controversial, he's not very bright, and above that, he's lazy. And yet you have people saying, but we should retain him. He's quoted as saying, so tell me in your best way, how can we get around the Iowa Constitution? Retain him. Are you serious, Clark? Because I'm telling you what, if a court will redefine the institution of marriage, they won't even blink an eye when they take your private property. They won't blink an eye when they take your guns. They won't blink an eye when they take away your religious liberty. They won't blink an eye when they tell you how to educate your children. That's why we have several attorneys calling us while we're on the bus saying, I'm a member of the Bar Association, I'm flat out embarrassed by their leadership. Because they're part of the 37% saying, this guy needs to go. We had an attorney in Council Bluffs who heard me speak. He goes, can I have the mic? He got up after me and said, I'm one of those attorneys. He said, I've read this opinion. He said, one of the worst opinions I've ever read. It was judicial overreach of the worst kind. Ladies and gentlemen, this is not about marriage. This is not about the Iowa State Bar Association. This isn't about protecting an institution. This is about defending the Constitution and our freedom. And you better take that serious. So you go ahead, and Dan Moore, who's going to be speaking here, man, is a very good friend of mine. He was the treasurer of my gubernatorial campaign. He backed me up when I said I'd issue an executive order to hold that court in check. But when it came time to threaten a court to hold them accountable, that became a different story and a different issue. Ladies and gentlemen, I'd say forget about what the intellectual elites tell you. Forget about what the media elites tell you. This is your country. This is your freedom. Stand up. Be counted. Vote no on Wiggins. Vote yes for marriage. Vote yes for freedom. Thank you for allowing us to be in Spencer.
Thank you, Bob. And thank you very much for coming out here. We'll be heading on to Orange City, Iowa. That'll be our last stop of the trip. And as you know, Clay County in 2010 did vote against all 3 judges. And we want Clay County to also vote against Judge Wiggins. We have a bunch of no Wiggins signs here. Please get these out around Clay County. Like I said, we have 4 judges on the ballot. We're only targeting 1 this time. So people need to know which judge is the one that needs to be held accountable. The other 3 were not responsible for what happened in 2009. Thank you so much for your time. And vote no on Wiggins November 6th.